It's the Golden Weed Show! That's yes.
And that's Sasha.
And we are live on idobi Radio with Ali G.
Brought to you by that Backyard Boogie.
The ganja. Oh, what a classic. What a classic. We are live on idobi Radio at the idobi Radio studio. All set to go. I think we were actually ready for the first time ever, like the earliest ever today. We are in biz. This Mercury retrograde could go fuck itself because the nerds are in biz.
We're here. We got all the lights on.
Yeah.
Everything's good to go.
Yeah, it's today is August 12th, 2024, and we had a very big earthquake here in LA.
It's like the third one.
Yeah.
And like three. There's like one a week.
Yeah. In like our Adobe Radio meeting last week, they were joking like, "Oh, did you like your edible kicked in?" And I was like, actually, like I did last week think that that's what it was. This week I didn't take an edible, so I knew that it was the earth moving under me. I wasn't stoked. I feel like I should be taking edibles 24/7 now. Follow us everywhere. Just find us. We're everywhere. You can find us, Cool Nerd Weed Show, on Instagram. We're on Adobe Radio's socials. You're going to want to follow Adobe Radio anyway. And we're everywhere else in the whole world that pods can be found after we are live. We're live. Like, if you're listening, you can DM us or something. I don't know. We probably won't check it. But, like, if you do want to, you can. We'll check it now that I said it. But we do always check our Instagram DMs all the time. We're very active on that side of things. We'll always answer you and talk to you. And, yeah, that's all I have.
You can actually text us. I answer all
you
text messages.
Oh, do we still do that?
We do.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that. Do we get a lot of texts?
All the time.
Really?
We're blowing up.
No. Really?
Not too many. Every now and then someone will ask a really serious question.
Oh, that's good.
And, you have the direct access.
Yeah, it's the number's in our bio, right? In Instagram?
Yeah.
Or is it on YouTube too?
Oh, it's everywhere.
Okay, yeah. Find the number on our wherevers, and you could apparently text us. It's clearly not me who's answering these. TS is very good. I try my best, but it's actually, TS is really good. I mean, he talks about it with me, He'll be like, somebody DM'd us, and this is what I said. I'll be like, that's awesome. It's usually how a lot of our stuff goes. We have a ton of video that is going up, content, little itty bitties, and big whole shows and stuff. So, just keep watching us. We've been doing this for, oh gosh, when I was looking for pictures of us, I really did go back to the beginning, and I was like, oh wow, you found that picture of our first show that we were talking about last week with Fish in the old Adobe Radio studio from literally 2017 or something.
Yeah,
or
we're like babies.
We're such babies. Everybody's babies there. That was like almost 10 years ago.
Oh, my God.
Not even being, I know I say it's 10 years. I've been saying 10 years for the last 5 years.
No, it was way back. It was like the first thing in our Dropbox.
It was the first thing we ever did. Was that show. Well, the first thing we did with idobi was that show. We had a couple shows that we revved up. We were getting revved up.
But you can see in that picture, there's like so much product.
Yeah, we'll post it. We'll post it on our Instagram. TS just kept taking stuff out of his bag, and it's like, we didn't smoke any of it in there, but it was just a lot of weed. And I won't say that times have changed. I mean, we still do have a lot of weed. It's just a different time. Times have changed here. We knew, and I will say, thinking back then, if we only knew, we knew exactly where it was going to go. And I think that helped because we're not surprised at corporate weed or dirty testing fucking facilities that swing their numbers. We're not surprised at the stigma that still happens. We're not surprised at headlines that are clickbait. We knew all this was going to happen the more weed was in the mainstream.
We did. It's our oral history of cannabis.
Yeah.
But we're making progress.
Yes. Well, we knew. I feel like we knew we were going to make progress too back then. Like I feel like we were like, no, things are going to get, pretty big, but it's going to be an uphill battle.
Yeah, it's a mess. At times it's a mess.
But it is progress.
Every now and then you get a little breakthrough.
Yes, and there's things that are worth talking about and enjoying, and we're going to start off there. We'll have a lot of stuff that we're going to try to get to today, but we used to do, not long ago either, it wasn't like in the beginning, it was like right in the middle of being the Cool Nerd Weed Show. We always like to do like continuing segments or stuff that we can nerd out about, and we did this one segment where it was kind of like Know Your Cannabinoid, or it was like Know Your Strain or something.
Yeah, we actually would like
strain of the day.
We would like pick a strain, one of our favorite new strains, and try to trace it back.
Yeah.
Using Phylos, like they did a genetic like genome.
Yeah,
project.
Phylos is like a database, I guess.
That's how they started.
Yeah.
It was genetic testing. You could send your samples in. They would test it against. They tested thousands of cannabis samples, and they had this whole like 3D genome project. It was
pretty
very cool.
It was cool for nerds.
You could see, everything went back to certain strains for the most part.
Yeah, but then I
break it down.
I think like, and you could trace stuff at that point, but I think now because everything is like so crossed and so like there really isn't anything to trace anything back to.
It's just
anymore.
Like back to the same like 5 strains.
But they don't even exist. You can't like
it probably
no land races that like pure, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
where are you getting your hands on a true land race?
Right. And so I think with all of that, and maybe you will, I think with that, with the whole like abandoning the indica sativa hybrid model of how the effects are, I feel like, obviously that was just like the type of plant that it was. I feel like the combination of things made Phylos like stop. Because then we were like, oh, I guess they're not doing it anymore. So we stopped doing our segment. Like because the database wasn't really.
It wasn't updated anymore.
Yeah. So we had
we had an account.
Yeah, we did. And we don't like have that database. So like we're nerdy, but we like we're not testing weed and we're not chemists. So we kind of abandoned that for a little bit, but we did want to go back to its daisies because THCV has been popping up. It's been popping up quite a bit, but earlier this year there was a big wave of questions about THCV and then a lot of products that came out, and it's like one of the more popular cannabinoids now. Like you got your CBDs, you got your CBNs, and you got your THCs, and now I think THCV is taking the world by storm.
Yeah, THCV has become wildly popular these days among the, it's known for more of an energetic, sort of focused feeling, and the sativa lovers traditionally, we'll just call the sativas, sativa. If you prefer a more euphoric, energetic sort of experience in your cannabis, you might want to try out THCV, whether smoking it or ingesting it. It's in a lot more products these days. We first saw it in vape form.
Yeah,
like back. I think the only one it was those Suicide Girls cartridges.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were promoting THCV as an appetite suppressant.
They were,
but
yeah.
you'd still like get that energetic, productive, effects.
Right, and like the real main, I guess complaint about weed is the kind of the feeling of not being able to like get up off the couch or move. Like when somebody smokes weed for the first time and they're it's kind of a...
You want to be grounded.
You're stationary. Yeah, and except for like, I say people, but like not us. But yeah, or the stoners. But the first time users, yes, you slow down a little bit. You're like, whoa. But THCV doesn't really slow you down. And I guess I tried. What were those? The tablets.
Oh yeah, we had the tablets.
What are they called?
The level.
Yeah. The level.
We tried the levels.
They were very early on isolating cannabinoids. They were doing that for like a while, and THCV was one of the more popular ones, and that one would kind of. I don't know that it would curb my appetite. I don't know that I can attest to that, but I'm sure that it curbs one's appetite, and it does give like a little burst of like focus and energy. I mean, some people will say that they went off their ADHD meds with it. I don't know about all that, but I have heard people say that.
Absolutely. Like people would come in specifically to try to substitute those THCV capsules for their ADHD.
Good for them.
Yeah. if it works for you, it's something to think about.
It is. It is something to think about.
If you're looking for an alternative.
And if like you're diabetic or you're like you have to watch your intake. I think a lot of times things like heart disease or diabetes and such are often linked to weed because sometimes you eat bad food when you get the munchies. I mean, I do, like
people come in all the time and specifically ask for strains that aren't going to give them the munchies that I don't really have.
It's hard.
It's hard to say like specifically.
Weed is also really good for like if you need an appetite, if you're on medication that makes you sick, or I've felt sick all day today, and weed was the only thing that helped me eat. But sometimes, like I said, like if you have sensitive dietary restrictions, you might stay away from weed and it could actually help you, but you might be staying away from it because you're not stoked on getting those munchies. Then THCV is definitely the cannabinoid for you. Just to like mention though, I'm sure that you're gonna see these at bodega gas station dispensaries. Like please steer clear of any isolated cannabinoid that is not from a dispensary. I'm like, yeah. I just feel like this is totally one of those
no, you are
man-made, like it could be one of those situations.
You are 100% correct.
Thanks. I thought
yes.
so.
Stay away from non-sanctioned alternative cannabinoids.
Yeah. So just like to put that out there. And yeah, so I guess I'm just trying to see. Oh, I guess, okay, so it goes to that like receptor. I'm looking at the Leafly if you want to. Are you looking at that too?
Yeah.
You are looking at the
I'm on the other one, but what goes to
like
it
how
it attaches to one of your receptors, your CB1.
I think, right?
I think so.
That's what Leafly's telling me. Lots of like chemistry words. But yeah, it like goes on to that like little receptor and it's like, don't activate.
It attaches to the one that causes the munchies.
Yeah, it like basically your appetite. It looks to me like if you prevent this CB1 receptor from being activated, so if you block it, your hunger is like curbed. So this cannabinoid tends to do that, and it mimics what other like maybe diet drugs do in a way. They do all other things too, but this kind of does that in the THC way, in the endocannabinoid system. So it like does the opposite of what THC does, like regular THC, which like definitely stimulates that shit. This is just like, no.
Hey,
stay back.
You're better. It's probably better off than with THCV than taking a diet pill.
I would. That's what my opinion is. this is interesting though. Like, depending on how you take it, like it's dose dependent. So lower doses will induce less quote unquote feeding, and higher doses obviously induce more. And another interesting thing is that it's not total eating levels, but like patterns of food intake. So it's not like your full intake of the day. It might just be like short-term eating, like maybe like those bursts of munchies that you tend to get when you're high.
You're just not going to grab some bad snacks. You're less likely to go to the refrigerator.
Like if you like to take weed when you play video games, I always use video games as an example. Like literally, if you ask me any example for anything really, but especially weed, I will use video games as an example. You can find that and bet that if you're playing video games. And for me, like, because it's all sorts of dopamines and stimulations and whatever, I do like to have a snack when I get high and play video games. But this maybe can make you focus more on your playing video games than mindlessly like getting munchies and eating your snacks while you're chasing the serotonin lights of video game. Video game stimulation. So I don't know. That's interesting. I feel like it also helps focus because you're not thinking about being hungry. And if you take it through vaping, it's kind of like short term. Like immediately you're not hungry, I guess, is what this is saying.
Oh yeah, it's the immediate relief
just like
from the
vape.
I've tried it in vape. I've tried the capsule form. Like low dose. It's always low dosages.
That's what it says, yeah.
Like I feel like, yeah, they're right. Like 2 to 5 add it with a little bit of THC, and all those cannabinoids just stimulate your brain in a.
Well, they don't stimulate your
brain. They don't stimulate. Well, even
or
they stop parts of your brain from stimulating.
Yeah. So I guess like.
I always say they tickle your brain a little different.
Sure, exactly. It's exactly what it is. This is interesting. And I guess we kind of knew this too. Like if you have THC and THCV, it's just like CBD and THC or something. Like they'll kind of like compete with each other. So it like basically kind of like nothing will really happen. No, like if it's like from whole plant extract instead of like pure THCV, it's like it's a different effect. Like the effect went away. They were like, I guess, hungry again or something. So I guess all the interactions of the full plant, obviously we know it's a different effect than just an isolated cannabinoid. I mean, duh. But yeah, so that applies too to this one.
Well, now I need to try some isolated THCV.
Yeah,
on its own.
It's interesting
because most of the edibles come with a touch of couple CBD, or like even a combination of like CBD, THCV, and THC. But I got a sample of that flower.
The Phylos.
The Phylos made. Yeah.
Oh shit! Did you try it?
They get shit done.
Oh, nice. Oh, cool. So this is THCV rich flower.
Yes.
Okay.
It was very low. It was probably like very low THC, like less than 20%, and then the THCV was very high, like around 11 to 15% THCV. Right. And they get shit done. However, it was very much a greenhouse flower. It was a lower tier of quality flower. So I tried it out. I seemed pretty focused, but I kind of lost track of time a little bit.
Okay. Well, yeah, I can see that. I
missed my bus stop.
Interesting. So were you just like dazed out?
I was just started
We're like focused on different...
I was actually playing chess on my phone and I missed my stop. I got off. Another one was coming. I got on right away and then I went to work.
So Phylos did put this, because what we're saying right now are all like results that were found in animals. the testing in humans is not significant enough to like fully claim that this is what this does. But Phylos did do a double-blind, placebo-controlled crossover trial, which in about 10 minutes we'll talk about a study that's come out with headlines that we feel like didn't do that. So Phylos did their due diligence, and they did like a wicked big study. They gave 78 adults a combination of placebo, THC, and or THCV. So like those three things. And they would get dosed at like 3 days at a time, and they were in gummies. So it looks like overall it says it ameliorates the increase in hunger. So that it doesn't sound like, I wouldn't go so far as call it an appetite suppressant, right?
Yeah.
But this is interesting because we do see that like it does tend to do these things. So maybe when we start to study it, we can like use it in like diabetes medication or actual, diet or something. You know what I mean? Like stuff that's like disease that's associated with diet. Maybe we can use cannabis to help with that.
So many applications.
Yeah.
That can be applied.
Yeah, because now we know.
It's like a great starting point.
Yeah. And yeah. So this is actually interesting. If anybody's interested, it's a Leafly article. We can link it, but I don't know where we would do that. You could just find it. You can link it in the comments and what I don't know. But yeah, it does look like it does curb munchies a little bit. It does make people feel like 20% felt more energized, like you said, like they were like doing daily activities, and then they were like, "Whoa, I really want to hone in on these." They like a few people. It wasn't really statistically increased. Hunger wasn't increased, but it wasn't like too significantly decreased. And fatigue was pretty, like, it gave people energy. Nobody had that, like, it was significantly less of having, like, that crash out after you have a gummy and your munchies. I feel like all of that is just such related biology, though. Like, when I get high, if I take an edible that's going to stimulate my appetite, I eat a lot of things.
After.
Yeah. Some of that may be carbs. Some of that may be delicious, healthy food. It's whatever I can get into my mouth the quickest. And then after I eat a lot, my body gets tired. That also is the THC, I'd assume. But it's also a biological reaction to me stuffing my fucking gourd with munchies. And maybe some carrots and hummus. But I will be tired from eating all of those things as well. Just something worth mentioning, I guess. It's not all weed's fault, you know. Yeah, so it's cool. If you see THCV in your local dispensary, definitely ask your bud tender. Know that like 5 milligrams is a good dose. This is not like THC where it's like we want to overdose. I truly believe CBN. I think I overdosed on it, and I really did have to go back to like 2.5 milligrams of CBN. So these isolated cannabinoids are very powerful.
Yeah, we don't get them in your daily life at all, like in your regular cannabis use.
Right.
So when you boost that CBN to 5 milligrams, the effects are great. Even with that THCV, I didn't realize how low the get shit done THC generally is. It's only like a 6% THC.
Really?
Yeah, with like 15% THCV.
Oh, interesting. I want to try it. Do you guys have it?
We do. I
kind of want to try it.
You know what? It sells out quickly now.
Does it?
Yeah, I'll get some.
Yeah,
I'll pick some up. Yeah,
yeah. I need
to pack.
Get some weeds anyways, and I would really like to see how that goes. Now, I'm not short of like energy, I guess. Like I don't really like I drink a lot of coffee.
Well,
but I like the idea of the focus. I like the idea of not taking or relying on ADHD meds. Those two things appeal to me. I like that. I like that a lot. I want to try.
Like if you substitute one day off the ADHD meds and you substitute in your THCV and you smoke that all day. You take a few less pills.
That's wicked.
Yeah.
See how great weed is? And you can take it in gummy form. If you don't want to smoke it, you don't have to. So this is great. Phylos is already starting some cool shit. Look out for them. Hopefully they will be around the country as well. But likely, I mean, there's nerds in the weed community, and even big corporations and money and taxing and shit can't stop us from nerding out about these things. People who are chemists of weed and whatnot, like, it's not a passive project. People are passionate about weed. So we'll have more on this. It's never going to, luckily, go away. It's only going to get more scientific and cool because progress is being made. Right?
Evolution in progress.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back, and I don't even know what kind of tone I want to set for this next thing. Just bear with us. We might go off, and by us I mean me, and you're just going to stare at me usually.
What?
and look scared because I'm going off and getting angry about things, and then you'll go off and get angry about things, and then I'll stare at you.
You could watch this all transpire on our YouTube channel.
It's usually how it goes when we talk about our passionate projects, which is everything. The reason why we do this show is kind of it relates to this kind of the story or the next headline that we're going to mention. We feel sometimes it is just the nerds have opinions. I played that one because I feel like it's the closest one that is relevant to this. Sometimes stories will come out that are genuinely scary about weed, that are genuinely oh no, is this, are we finally going to find out weed is the worst thing that's ever been and everybody was right the whole time, and
suddenly we're on a quest to recriminalize it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Complete 180.
Yeah. That's what I feel like is, I'm waiting to happen. But every so often there really will be something that comes out that feels scary. And we feel like if we don't talk about it, because we are live every week, we do new shows. We have been doing new shows every single week for going on 9 years, without exception. We've never taken a month off, right? I think the longest we went when I was in Japan or something. We've never taken a month off. So very timely, very demure.
We are. Even when you were in Japan, we did a show.
We did. We had a new show. We did. You're totally right. So
it was that time change.
So even during the pandemic, yes, that's time change. Yeah, we were live. Everybody was asleep. It was crazy. But no, we did put out new content, and it would be it would be silly of us not to talk about things that happen, just ignore things that come up, especially because we are asked. People will ask us, what do you think about this new study that came out? What is this new study that came out? You'll probably get questions at the dispensary tomorrow. I mean, we used to at the dispensary and stuff. So we do feel like we have to mention these things. I'm putting that disclaimer on it because I don't know how I'm going to come across. And I also want to say, we're not doctors. We just really do go on our years and years and years of experience with the plant. But there hasn't been any formal medical testing yet because it's still illegal. So while we wait on that, all these studies come out that are scary. I think earlier this year we had that big heart disease one, that heart attack one, everybody's heart's going to explode.
Cannabis is you're at further risk for heart attacks. That was on CNN too.
Yeah, these are things coming from CNN. By the way, this is where we're getting our article. So if you want to find that and read along, or you probably saw it if you watched. CNN's on my nerves, but yeah. So and it's interesting because CNN's always been very pro weed. They always had Sanjay Gupta doing all the things, and that's where I saw before Vice too. They were kind of hand in hand, really, Vice and CNN showing the cannabis content in a good light. And now it's I feel like they're I don't know.
Where is Dr. Sanjay? We haven't seen him for months.
Yeah, that's a good question. But he's not here. He's not in this study. And this came out over the weekend that using weed daily for years may raise the overall risk of head and neck cancers 3 to 5-fold. Now, that's according to a new study that basically took a bunch of medical records and was like, well, what's consistent here? And people who have cannabis use disorder, which I feel like is a relatively new diagnosis, but people who have that also have shown up having some sort of like head cancer or larynx cancer. I mean, immediately you think of like smoking. That's really where that's a big part of where this can come from, the combustible smoke of weed. I'm not quite sure that means actual cannabis or the smoke.
This is, yeah,
something
but
to talk about, something to think about.
The study doesn't actually address the form of cannabis use.
No,
It's just a broad stroke of cannabis use. It doesn't say whether they smoked.
It says,
they vaped.
No, it says there's a quote. While our study did not differentiate between methods of cannabis consumption, cannabis is most commonly consumed by smoking. Intonation put on editorially. Yeah. I think it's safe to say they're lighting up doobies. Giving themselves the cancers. That's what I feel like. I mean, it just sounds like silly. But yes, cannabis is most commonly consumed by smoking, even though, what was the state that just went legal? Like, you couldn't even smoke weed there, or they didn't allow combustible cannabis for...
Oh, Ohio.
Yeah, so...
Like, medical cannabis did not involve any flower.
But it's true. I'm just being a little Dickens. And it is true that smoking is the normal way that you, or the most common way that you would, not normal, the most common way that you would consume weed. And combustible smoke can be not great. I mean, it's bad. It's bad, too much of it is bad. We feel bad when we smoke too much. Your lungs don't like it. And I would also like to mention, and just throw in there before we proceed, I don't want to say like, nowadays weed's not, your grandma's weed, but it's true. Like, people are smoking infused joints now. People are smoking whatever the fuck they put in all these...
The distillate.
Distillates.
Everybody wants to smoke the highest THC content in
the
pre-roll.
most concentrated form. And
then, we're adding so many things. I think it's the distillate that 90%.
I don't disagree.
THC distillate that everybody's spraying on
everything,
and then
or
rolling
just
it.
smoking vapes of. Yeah, and rolling it. I think those like hyper supercharged joints. I think that and vapes and stuff. And not like we don't consume them. So I'm not like saying they're bad. I'm not saying like don't do that. But I am saying that if you smoke like an infused joint like a day, you're going to develop cannabis use disorder. Like that's a lot of THC intake, and that is a lot of thick smoke. Now, I don't know about the cancer stuff, but I can tell you that, we know that oral cancer and throat cancer is commonly caused by smoke. It's usually nicotine, but they are suggesting it may also be cannabis. The thing about tobacco and nicotine smoke is it's like a little bit of poison for your and carcinogens.
There's all that in tobacco.
That makes the cancers. You do have not a carcinogen, but like I don't know, whatever it turns into when it turns into smoke. The ashes or whatever.
The tar.
Yes, that is what can happen, I guess, with weed, where it can maybe have some sort of cancer may develop. I'm guessing that's what they are. I mean, if I'm an idiot, I'm just me, and if I'm drawing that conclusion, I'm assuming that's where they're getting their like conclusions. So they do go on to say that it's most likely smoked. It also mentions that. So like it just like went through like a huge data set, a huge database, and I feel like they were like,
they just like the heart study from CNN and cannabis before, they just combed through a bunch of data.
Yeah.
They cherry picked it. They came up with some correlations, possible causations.
Yes, and
where do they find all these people that had cannabis use disorder?
I don't know. I feel like that's like a fairly new thing that like we've been talking about. So I don't know. I guess people were just diagnosed with it.
So if you're going to like your regular mainstream doctor that donated your cannabis, your records, and you actually said I'm addicted to cannabis, or I have possibly cannabis use disorder, then anything else after that, any other medical condition you might have, would be blamed on your cannabis use disorder.
It looks like it. It kind of looks like that's the way.
I'm just trying to connect the dots here.
So it says so this was published in a head and neck surgery publication, and it analyzed a database of 4 million electronic health records and found 116,000 diagnoses of cannabis use disorder in the head and neck cancers.
Okay.
So these things were all, I guess, individually diagnosed. They're all in their mid-40s. It doesn't say whether or not they smoke cigarettes as well. It doesn't say anything else about what else. I feel like that would be important to take into account when you're talking about throat and head cancers. I don't think it says anywhere in here that they were non-smokers of tobacco. I think that is an important thing when you're talking about fucking throat cancer.
It is. You have to check off that box. You need to check off that box. If you're going to say that cannabis causes head and neck cancers, you need to make a note in your study if people were smoking tobacco as well.
Makes me so mad. So now they do go on to say, and this is scary. It says, how might cannabis cause cancers? They're saying it may be smoke. They're saying how it is smoked because we hold it in longer. They're saying the link to there's certain cannabinoids that can actually increase or enhance the growth of HPV-related throat cancer. So if you already have throat cancer and you're smoking weed, I feel like maybe we should ingest weed a little differently if you have throat. I'm not a doctor, but I do feel like if you have throat cancer, which I grew up with somebody very close to me in my family who had throat cancer, he did sneak in the occasional cigarette. I don't know what enjoyment he got from it, but he did. But he stopped smoking all the things because it was just plain old unpleasurable and painful. So I would have to go out on a limb and say that if you have HPV-related throat cancer and it wasn't caused by your cannabis use or something, maybe I wouldn't recommend smoking cannabis. Now, I don't know if it doesn't say if they ate weed, if that enhanced the tumors. Doesn't say that. So I would think about that.
It's true because we have reported otherwise, and there's other studies that say exactly the opposite.
Right. And I hesitated to mention all of that just because I'm trying to I screamed once. I'm trying not to get too mad. But yeah, we have really been a part of many journeys where people are very, very sick with cancer. And we've seen it be life-changing. We've seen it be life-saving. We've seen it be at least life-comforting. We've seen all of the above. I think it's the downside of having weed into the mainstream and stuff and having it be talked about more is, like you said, you find cannabis use disorder and then you're like, oh, well, the throat cancer is definitely from the cannabis use disorder. So I don't want that to happen when we start to really dig down and study weed. If there is a correlation to cannabinoids and the plant of weed and any cancers, like, let's get ahead of that. Yeah, I don't want that to be a thing.
Yeah, real studies. We need real fucking federally funded studies to, not just comb through data of people that may have been diagnosed with cannabis use disorder.
And it is not a confirmed association. It's not a confirmed association. I just want to say that. It's not a confirmed association. It is just a thing that popped up. It's like, I follow this TikTok and I can't remember his name, but he does, like, he'll post, like, the charts, like, the rising of something. Like, he'll post the charts of two completely strange and unrelated things that, like, shouldn't, like, there's no reason why in 2014, like, Mr. Cleaning and, like, Nike shoes, or that, not even those, like, might correlate, but whatever. It's, like, two very random things. And, like, if those two things, like, mirror themselves, then they must be, like, also causation and not just correlation. So there's a lot of that with weed. There's a lot of, like, oh, gateway drug, because when you get arrested for another drug, you're likely to have weed on you or something like that. Gateway drug, you get addicted to drugs because you try weed once and you're like, I need something stronger, like,
just not giving me that kick.
So, because and notoriously, most addicts, you won't find them saying that. This is just our experience. Again, we are not doctors. That's what I need to keep on reiterating. So,
CNN keeps posting these articles, and these studies just keep coming up.
And we just want to like calm the panic a little bit, the satanic panic a little bit, because there's nothing to, if you are one of those people who smoke a joint every day, like me, at least, because it says in here, people who smoke a joint every day for years or more are at risk by like 2.5 to 5 times to getting throat and head cancers. I am happy to cut down my joint usage and take weed for in a different way, if that does become a thing. If I go to my doctor and he's like, oh boy, looks like you should stop smoking, I am happy to do so. But I would like to make sure that it's not the cannabis and it is the smoke. And this doesn't really give me that. This just says weed causes cancer. And we don't want you to think that, because that is just not true. It's just not right. It's not confirmed true.
No, at the end of this entire article,
it's not true.
It's not true.
It's just a thing that is also a thing. So please, but also be mindful, be demure. If you are concerned and you do feel like you can talk that way with your, what do you call it, mainstream doctor?
Yes.
Your lamestream doctor, and your doctor will likely not recommend weed. That is just the way Western medicine works. Then there's your answer. And I don't love to say it, but maybe other alternatives are out there. Even though we really do believe in this plant, and if there's things that it's not good for, I would love to know. I would love to know that, instead of just assuming off of numbers in a data set.
Just straight spreadsheets. You're just looking at spreadsheets.
It's like irresponsible. And I didn't get as mad as I thought I was going to get, but I don't want to take away from the people who aren't, joint a day smokers, people who are, and it says literally in here, if you're a recreational smoker, you have nothing to worry about, basically. You're fine. But I don't want to take away from, like, people who are like, oh, well, what if my sister smokes a joint a day every day? Is she going to get cancer? Like, let's all calm down, take a breath, fill it with weed. And if you are taking a tolerance break and you're worried about this stuff, we also support you there, because this is terrifying. It's very scary. So if that is something that you're thinking about, if your lungs feel heavy, sometimes my lungs feel heavy, then please do that. And we also have tips and tricks there. It's okay. It's okay. I blame everything on distillate.
Yeah. Absolutely. Nobody needs to be smoking distillate and terps. Whatever terps are these days.
Whatever you call yourself. It is the final Huff and Puff. It is the final Huff and Puff. And I'm sad because we do only really have like 5 minutes left, and we're going to spend it talking about fucking Ron DeSantis. Listen, spoiler alert. We don't like Ron DeSantis. We don't like him.
Not at all. Not one bit. Or his weaselly brother and confidant, Congressman Matt Gaetz.
Boo! Boo!
Florida Representative Matt Gaetz rears his ugly Botoxed face again in the cannabis movement after, being one of the only GOP members to vote for legalization reform is coming out against cannabis legalization in Florida.
Yeah. Ron DeSantis is not about it. He's really coming out against it. It's Amendment 3 is what it is. That's what you're voting on when you go out and vote, because you will be going out and voting in November. You will, and you must. And Amendment 3 is what you will be looking at. And Ron DeSantis and Matt Gaetz, whose name makes me my mouth waters with gag. They both don't like it. They're against it, and they like Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis is a hypocrite because it doesn't make sense in any way for him to want this to happen. There's no benefit for him. So of course, you know what I mean? He probably doesn't have enough hands in it to make money off of it
right now.
Exactly.
He needs to get his claws in a little deeper, Ron DeSantis, because he signed in. He made Florida's medical cannabis, to actually be able to consume flower when he took office. But as we know, there was probably many, many donations from the multi-state corporate cannabis that operates in Florida, funneled many, many donations in his favor.
Yeah.
And he was actually at, flown in, him and Matt Gaetz, to True Leave events.
Well, and his biggest, he even says in this last at the RNC, he even said he's mad that True Leave has the corporate monopoly on the weed down there. He's like, this is all from one company from Canada, and they just fucking came to Florida and took all, So it's what I said. He didn't get his mitts in with True Leave or whatever it is, whatever, farm that he was funding didn't make the cut to make money, and he doesn't like that. Now, we don't like True Leave so much either, but for different reason. He is putting it under the guise that he doesn't like big corporations and their, fucking greed and please. Okay, sure, Jan. Yeah, and True Leave is, by the way, on the record says it's not true. They're not trying to have a monopoly on anything. So, yeah, he really went off on about how much he doesn't like this. And Donald Trump said that in his insane thing that he did the other day that I had to walk away from, that he's going to make a statement on something.
Yeah, Donald Trump will be chiming in about Amendment 3 and the illegal legalization of cannabis in Florida.
Yeah, so, he was asked about it. He didn't really say anything. When does he? And he was like, I'll be saying something soon about it. I don't know what that is, because obviously, he lives in Florida. His homies are in Florida. I am curious. I am on his official stance, because I've been saying, but this real digging down by Ron DeSantis and his peoples, and all the money they're getting donated to kind of go against it.
Yeah, we were laughing a couple of weeks ago at Ron DeSantis because he only had $10,000 in his anti-cannabis campaign, and some fucking hedge funder donated $20 million to the anti-cannabis campaign in Florida. Mm. Why?
I don't know. Well, probably because they
They just want to run amok.
And
Florida.
also, I don't think they know how to deal with it in the tourism spots. I don't think they know how to tackle it. I think Ron DeSantis literally thinks it's going to turn into like West Side Story and it's going to be like crime everywhere. I really do think that. I think that he thinks, and I also think they don't know how to make their monies and they don't know how to do it yet with all, because Florida, like, it's a lot of tourism down there, and like Miami and all those places. It would be crazy to see a dispensary like just like pop in. I don't know the Miami streets, but like in Miami Square,
South Beach, right on South Beach,
right on Miami Ave,
right there on Main Street,
where they love the local football team. Yeah, I would be interested to see what he says. I am, because I feel like this does kind of say to me that he may not be. Maybe he'll like keep it states or something. Maybe he'll just be like, it's states' rights or something. Like maybe he won't be down with federal.
I don't.
Because it's not gonna. I mean, it's not like him and Ronnie are like besties, but like it is. They do have to kind of be on the same team.
They do.
For the next
they do.
few months.
I think Donald Trump kind of wants to keep it on the state level.
So that's probably what I'll say.
But will he come out for or against the actual amendment? It's going to be so vague.
I think it's going to be vague. Yeah, I think he's just going to be like, do what you want. Like I do. And now I'm curious. You know, if you want weed in Florida, you have to vote. You have to. This is so important because they're really trying hard to not get this passed, and it should be passed for now because we don't know what's happening with federal, and the access should be safe, and you should have it. Right?
Yeah, people in Florida overwhelmingly want and need access to cannabis in their lives. So get out there and vote. I believe you can vote by mail in Florida.
Yeah, you can. I think you can.
And you can vote in advance. So register to vote and get out there and vote. Please
do. It's very importante. All of these things are on the line. Whatever with your silliness, Ron DeSantis, and your studies. My RSO is kicking in, and I feel pretty good, and that is what weed has done for me. I'm doing a great show with my best friend on idobi Radio. Find us everywhere, Cool Nerd Weed Show, and
don't panic.
It's organic.